Monsoon rains dancing their way into our lives, bringing cooler weather, lush landscapes. We tend to really romanticize this season. It's such a joy to walk out of your house, have that light, cool breeze in the air, beautiful dewdrops everywhere that you look, that smell of rain on dry grounds. But obviously, each time with each day, you also have unwelcome party crashers, so infectious diseases, for example. And while we're enjoying the rain, we thought today on the show, we need to bring you a much needed relief from the scorching heat with these details. So we're going to bring you everything. A, how the monsoon is progressing. We'll bring you that overview. We'll tell you a little bit more about how it's expected to stretch for how long and in which cities. But then we're going to bring you the health breakdown. Amid all of our aquatic adventures of sorts, where you've got waterlogged streets, you've got puddles, you've got accidental swimming pools of sorts forming everywhere. You also have germs in every single location. It leads, as you already know, to a lead and a rise in waterborne diseases. You hear about these diseases all the time. You've got typhoid, dengue. We're going to take a deeper dive into how you can protect yourself from that. We're also going to tell you how you should walk outside. So every time you're walking outside the house, what you need to have taken in your bag, how you need to have prepared yourself. Today, we're bringing you this 360 degrees explorer of sorts to prepare you. What health experts have to say on this and how you can keep yourself safe and your family safe in this monsoon season. Let's take a look first by checking in on the monsoon. So, how long are we going to see this monsoon season last for? How is each city going to see it? What kind of patterns are we going to see? To get a breakdown into all of this, we have our colleague Shrishti on the show with us just to bring us an explainer today. So first, a little bit of data. India is witnessing a deficit of nearly 11% in June. It was a very, very slow advance of monsoon. But to get the breakdown on what it's actually going to mean over the next few months, Shrishti is with us, as we said earlier. Shrishti, tell us first, what's the status of the monsoon? So we're checking in with you. It's July already, which means some parts of the country have already seen a few weeks of monsoon for a while now. Other parts like Delhi, it's just been the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's been particularly, I'm going to use the word bad for a lot of us, right? You're stepping outside, you've got long traffic jams because of the weather. The whole city comes to a standstill. Just bring us an overview first of monsoon across the country right now.
Good morning, Toya. So, like you rightly said, so the monsoon, it's a 4-month season which starts in June. And this year we had an early onset of the monsoon. It made its onset over Kerala on 30th of May, which is 2 days early. And then it was, advanced very well over the southern states. But what happened was that it stalled around 10th or 12th of June. And then there was this whole dry period during which we saw intense heat waves across North India. But luckily, it again gained momentum, and by 2nd of July, the entire country was covered by the southwest monsoon. And after a significant deficit, so the overall rainfall deficit in June was about 11%. So there were large areas which did not get the kind of rainfall they should have. Get. Exactly. But now we have seen the situation really turning. The India Met Department has forecasted above normal rains this July. And we are seeing a really good spell, like Mumbai, especially along the west coast, we are seeing really heavy rains. And Assam is facing disastrous floods, especially, see the Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary is facing its worst deluge in years. So there are parts which are receiving excess rains, but there are certain states like, Kerala along the west coast, West Bengal, Orissa, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. Now these are the states which are receiving insufficient rains. So overall the monsoon is really uneven.
So it's then, Shrishi, tell us, you're a weather expert. Is it fair to tell our audiences that you can't yet summarize that the rainfall is more intense than what we've seen last year because of that patchiness of sorts, that imbalance?
Definitely, definitely. So the overall monsoon, it's like it's stretched over a 4-month period, but there are breaks in between, and there are periods when we do not get rainfall, and then there are periods when the rainfall is so intense. Like a few days back on June 28th, we received an intense spell of heavy rainfall over Delhi. It was about 228 mm within a few hours. And most of the rainfall was stretched over like 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. We saw the kind of flooding that happened in Delhi. And then we saw in Mumbai recently where about, 268 mm of rainfall. This is a really high amount of rainfall happening within a few hours. Panji in Goa recorded the highest daily rainfall of the season. So we have seen how the rainfall is really breaking records, And like you said, these short bursts of heavy rainfall events are really increasing. And they're increasing across the world, not just India. And scientists tell us that it's also something that, that's exasperated, that's basically,
exacerbated.
Exactly, by the, the warming of the atmosphere, because the more warm the atmosphere is going to hold the moisture for a very long period of time and suddenly dump it, like what we are witnessing in these urban cities, which is leading to disastrous flooding.
So, Shrishti, part of what you do obviously is look at predictions. So then I do want to ask you, if I may, to just tell us what the data says, almost for each, because our TBC family tunes in from across the country. What are predictions showing for each of Delhi's metropolitan cities over the next few weeks?
So, as of now, like I said, the India Met Department has said that the rainfall over July is going to be above normal. So, it's going to be good rains, which is good for the farmers because this is the sowing period. But this is also a warning sign for states, especially the Himalayan states, where we could see really flooding, especially Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, as well as some other states where the rivers, there could be riverine flooding. It's also a warning sign for the urban cities, like we're talking about Delhi and Mumbai, where, intense spells of rain can really lead to flooding. And that is why the weather department is also preparing. It has alerted the disaster management as well. I think now the focus is on really increasing our data observations. So we spoke to the IMD DG, Dr. M. Mohapatra, recently. He told us, they're planning to increase the radar network over Delhi, increase the automatic weather stations, rain gauge, so that we can get that kind of data. Also, it's important for us to realize that the kind of rainfall what we are witnessing now, these are intense spells, right? And like he said, it was almost like a cloud burst. And we know globally that it's very difficult to predict an event like a cloud burst, right? So it's important for the disaster management officials also to be aware of the kind of uncertainty that these weather forecasts really hold, and that is why we really need to be prepared, as well as the dam management, Remember the kind of flooding we saw in July last year. So we all should be really prepared for that.
Shrishti, thank you, and thank you for illustrating just how complex the situation is right now. It feels like we've heard the word intense a lot in the last few minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so you, our audiences, now have that brief overview of what the next few weeks will look like when it comes to the weather. But we don't want you to get glum at all. We just want you to know how you can prepare yourself a little bit better. So one of the big things we see at this time are health challenges. Right now, you're seeing a spike, for example, in Mumbai in flu cases. This is something that's taken place over the last 2 weeks. Delhi is seeing a surge in typhoid, dengue, jaundice cases. The ICMR has also sounded an alarm on a rise in Zika cases. So joining us to shed light on how you can better prepare yourself, we have Dr. Harshad. He's with us. He's a senior consultant in internal medicine, and we'll go over to him to understand more. This is, of course, at a super specialty hospital in Mumbai. Doctor, thank you for joining us this morning. Doctor, tell us, first, just a simple question to open up. We're seeing a spurt take place in Mumbai, in Delhi, in other cities across the country too. When you see these spurts, anything irregular, or is this usual every monsoon to some degree?
Good morning to all. Yes, it is like more or less very regular every monsoon. There is nothing different this year as well. As what you were discussing, the monsoon it's started on time or a little earlier. So we are seeing all these surges of all these diseases a little earlier this year. So dengue, malaria, yes, definitely typhoid, flu. These are the commonest ones what we are witnessing at the moment in Mumbai.
So tell us, doctor, it's so important that we aren't alarmist, especially this early in the morning. And it's good to know that rates and numbers in terms of surges in cases are consistent with what we've seen in the past. Tell us, in the monsoon, do diseases spread faster simply because you've got water collecting in different places, or are there other reasons too?
So, yeah, to answer, there are two types of diseases in this. Like one is a vector-borne disease where mosquitoes are biting you, for example, dengue fever or malaria. Waterborne diseases, which is like typhoid or gastroenteritis or jaundice. So, these are two different types of diseases.
What does vector mean, doctor? Just explain that to us.
Yeah, vector is a mosquito. It's a vector which transmits a particular germ. For example, a malaria germ is transmitted into your body by a vector, means a mosquito. So, the mosquito-borne diseases like dengue and malaria, they surge during monsoon because there is a lot of waterlogging in all the places, as well as there is a lot of humidity in the air, which becomes both of these make ideal breeding grounds for the mosquitoes. That's why the mosquito-borne diseases increase in the monsoon season. And then there is these other type of diseases like typhoid or gastroenteritis, these are, or hepatitis. These are the diseases, they are spread through the contaminated water, and the potable water gets contaminated more often during the monsoon because of the storm water, water disposal systems get overburdened, and all these reasons can lead to waterborne diseases also more commonly in monsoon. So separate reasons, but yes, all of these diseases do spike during the monsoon.
So then, doctor, if we take what you say and we put what seems like the next obvious steps, when one asks you how do we make sure we're safe in this season, is it as little as just making sure that there aren't water bodies, for example, collecting next to you, that you put odomos when you step out? Are these the steps? Are there other things you'd recommend?
Yeah, so there will be different steps, like an individual will have to take certain steps to protect or safeguard himself or his family, and there will be some participation required from the government or the healthcare agencies, which also can take certain steps to safeguard the safety of its citizens. So whenever an individual is being talked about for the mosquito-borne diseases, yes, typically what you will want to do is that you will want to wear full sleeves, specifically when you are going out into the areas where mosquitoes are very frequent, or while you are at your home, you can use personal protective creams like Odomos or something like that. You have to use mosquito nets, you may use mosquito repellents, which we get very commonly nowadays. So these are the things which an individual can do for protecting himself, but the government also has to do a lot by having a good drainage system, avoiding the puddle formations in various areas, spraying the aerosols of anti-mosquito drugs, what all of us see, and probably restrict building activities or put more restrictions on avoiding the gathering of water during these construction sites, which is a very common problem in the cities. So both government as well as individuals have to do their bit. Similarly, when it comes to waterborne diseases, you have to filter the water that you get at home. You have to use certain water filters like 0B or whatever you have installed at your home. Sometimes you can boil the water and drink it. The elderly people are and younger children are more at risk of all these things, so they should be taking more precautions out of these. They have to be vaccinated against certain illnesses like typhoid, flu. They have got fantastic vaccines we have got, so we have to use these vaccines. So
Doctor,
various things we can
can I just pop
put
in there
order
to ask you one question? So we've talked about vector-borne to some depth, but we're also in Mumbai, for example, seeing a bump up in flu cases. Why is that happening?
Yes. So again, the same reason that with the arrival of monsoon, we get a good relief from the scorching heat. But similarly, the virus, flu virus, does have this predilection towards slightly lower temperatures. So the breeding or the transmission grounds become very, very ideal for this virus as well as the temperatures drop. And that's why it's a common occurrence that in southern part of India, the flu cases spike exactly at the time of monsoon because of the lowering of the temperatures.
Okay, doctor, thank you for joining us and thank you for providing us with an overview, because we've touched each kind of predicament that can actually come to us. Doctor, we're going to take our audiences now from you to another expert. So how can you better protect yourself when you're stepping out? We've talked about the ways in which you can look after the inside of your body. So for example, when you're stepping out, put your mosquito repellent on. There are other steps. Wear long sleeves. Make sure that the areas you live in aren't surrounded by puddles or there isn't water gathering around you. These are some basic things to look out for. But let's go into another area. It's called your body's largest organ, your skin. Let's go over to Dr. Agni Bose to understand a little bit more about how you can better protect your body's largest organ. Agni, thank you for joining us, doctor, here on the show. Tell us, number one, big question for you. A lot of us, we've heard the different skin types. So we know there's normal, there's dry, there's combination. But for a lot of us, when you go out in the monsoon, the only thing we know is oily skin. What are the best ways to protect yourselves, to prevent your skin from getting oily? If there are any hacks you have, what's the breakdown you tell people who come to you?
Good morning, Toya. Thank you for having me. So keep in mind, like while growing up in Delhi, we used to have a winter wardrobe and we used to have a summer wardrobe. all the woolens and all our warm clothes would be kept away. Similarly, for your skin also, we have winter skincare and we have summer skincare. We shouldn't mix the two. So if somebody has oily skin or if somebody has combination skin, in that case, if you use the moisturizer, if you use the products which are heavier, which are cream based, which are more hygroscopic, which provide you moisturization during winters, if you use them during your monsoons, they will clog the pores, they will block your pores, and you will get nice, lovely, beautiful pimples. So keep in mind that you need to use different products in monsoons. So go for products which are gel based rather than them being cream based. So they'll have like a silicone feel, they'll have a matte finish, they'll have gel based products or more fluid based products. And in case you're using, you're somebody who uses a moisturizer, then you should go for a moisturizer. Usually they'll have OC written on it. OC usually stands for oil control. So these are the kind of changes and these are the kind of tweaks that one should do so that the skin stays hydrated while at the same time not overhydrated wherein it causes problems.
Can I ask you, doctor, if one is getting a pimple in this moment, how does one tell if it's because of the monsoon, because of the rains, or if it's hormonal acne, whether one should come and visit you? What's the guide there?
Okay, so when you say seasonal acne, I'm assuming what you mean is something which is related to either diet. So, for example, during summers, people, they have a lot of mangoes, and that leads to pimples, that leads to acne because of high sugar. We get the same thing even during Shadi season, wedding season, Diwali, Dashera. People are eating a lot of sweets, and again, they get a lot of breakouts, so which is different. The other thing which I'm assuming what you mean by seasonal acne is where you're getting acne primarily because of clogging or occlusion of the pores. Okay. Now that will look like comedones, which are whiteheads or blackheads. You will not get frank inflammatory acne. When you mean hormonal acne, now hormonal acne in women, it'll exacerbate right before their menses, so there will be a premenstrual flare of the hormonal acne. Hormonal acne in women will also be concentrated more around the lower face, around the jawline, around the neck. We can also get some severe reddish, those angry red looking pimples, which can also get, those pus filled more on the cheeks. And these are the hallmarks for hormonal acne. Now, men per se, hormonal acne won't really flare up cyclically, but for men who are in the younger age group and they have resistant acne, which is not going away with treatment, we know for a fact I need to get the hormones checked. Now, your question is when to visit a dermatologist. It is always a good time to visit a dermatologist, whether be it seasonal acne or be it hormonal acne.
But you are saying कि देखने से पता चल जाता है. You're saying there are some ways to look into the mirror and tell which is which.
Yes, there are lots of ways. But the thing is, I wouldn't recommend that, just because, so there can be a lot of confounding factors, right? Like somebody maybe has a diet rich in sugar and carbohydrates, but at the same time, they have a lot of hormonal imbalances which are going on. I wouldn't want them to attribute everything just to the diet and feel that, no, I do not have hormonal acne. This is all because of my diet. So because, yes, we need to correct the diet by all means, but in case you don't care for the hormonal acne and you're somebody who has a tendency for scratching it or picking your pimples, these later become scars, acne scars, and then they become very difficult to treat. So just when in doubt, always just go to a doctor.
Okay, I want to ask you, doctor, I'm sure you have clients sometimes who aren't into skincare. The stereotype is often that it's men, but actually it's everyone, across genders. You'll have people who just are like, I wake up and I don't want to be putting things on my skin, especially things that feel chemically. So if I just had to ask you if there were one or two guiding lines that you would give us. In the summer we had you on and you told us SPF, there's no negotiating with it. Like that for the monsoon, do you have similar sort of things that everyone should do even if they really don't want to spend money on something expensive?
Okay, fair enough. I'm glad that you remembered the line SPF is non-negotiable. So for monsoons, what I'm going to tell you is moisturization is swad anusar. Okay, this is what I tell all my patients. So if you feel the need to use a moisturizer, by all means, only then use a moisturizer. Because overhydrating the skin, overusing products, over moisturization of the skin, especially in this monsoon weather with the humidity level so high, you are going to clog your pores, you are going to block your pores, and you will get breakouts. Okay, so lessen and reduce the number of products, number one, which are there in your skincare routine. And if somebody is new to skincare, the bare minimum that they can use, one is a sunscreen, because that is across the year, and that advice I'm going to give you across the year. So sunscreen again is non-negotiable. If you're watching videos and following skincare routine, maybe you can skip the moisturization part. Because if you have oily or combination skin and you moisturize it, no, it may not be the best idea. So like moisturization is swad anusar. So one size doesn't fit all. And if you still feel the need to use a moisturizer, go for a gel-based product. Go for a fluid-based product rather than a cream or a lotion-based product on your face. Number three, what you could do is, if you still must recycle your winter skincare and you don't want to waste it, so you can use your winter moisturizers not on your face because they will be too heavy for your face. You rather just use them on your body or your neck. So these are some of the things. And I think one of the questions which comes to a lot of people's mind is the skin hydrated? Just because it's raining outside,
Right.
just because it's very wet outside, is the skin hydrated? So no, our bodies don't absorb water from the outside, because had that been the case, we would have treated dehydration by pushing patients into the swimming pool. That's not how it works. So bodies don't absorb water, bodies get hydrated from within. So you must still drink your 2 to 2.5 liters of water if you want good glowing skin, hydrated skin, because your skin will only and only be hydrated from within.
Doctor, one last question before we let you go. I'm sure you have people around you who love using makeup, and in this weather, it just feels almost stupid to try to put on makeup, to go out a few hours later, to have sweat off your face. I know that you're not a makeup specialist, you're a dermatologist and a doctor, but to the people around you who want to put makeup on, is this still a season where you say stay away from makeup because it can all get grimy?
Okay, so good question actually. So what I would recommend is, again, reduce the number of layers, reduce the number of products, okay? So for example, if somebody is used to using foundation, if they feel the need to use a foundation, skip that step and instead go for a tinted sunscreen. Now, there are two types of tinted sunscreen. You will have either a bronze, dark shade of tinted sunscreen, or you'll have an ivory shade of tinted sunscreens. And for Indian skin, we need both these shades because Indian skin is highly variable, right? Normal sunscreens usually tend to have a white cast. They usually tend to be white in color, which may not necessarily suit our Indian skin. So what I would recommend for makeup is, because this will also help you with other things, the first layer can be a layer of tinted sunscreen for somebody who uses foundation. Okay, once you have done that, on over and above that, then you can use your the other different makeup layers, but try and keep it as minimal as possible and as less as possible. Also be aware that your makeup brushes and the makeup sponges and all, they're predisposed to developing fungal infections in this moisture and climate. So change them regularly and clean them regularly.
Dr. Agni, thank you for giving us an A to Z guide of sorts. If you do wear makeup, if you don't wear makeup, if you like doing absolutely nothing, you've kind of given us a guide for each and every one of us, just how we can step outside. Thank you for joining us on the show. Okay, let's move on from this now to one last part. When it comes to the monsoon season, for all of us in the studio, it's chai and pakoda. We thought through this quite a bit and we were like, this is the ultimate monsoon combination. But for a while now, experts have actually hypothesized that the lack of sunlight in the monsoon is the reason that your happy hormones, so hormones like serotonin, are affected. And that's why you go for food that boosts these hormones. That's why you reach out, for example, for fried, oily stuff. On TBC, we like to encourage you, obviously, to try to get your health also and aapka taste also. So we thought we'd go over to nutritionist Kavita Devgan for the last chunk of information we have for you today on this. We wanted to ask her what foods in the monsoon you can eat that will pack the health punch and the taste punch. Take a look.
First most important rule is hygiene. Very, very important to be very careful of what you're eating in this season. Try not to eat out, try to eat at home. And if you are eating out, be 100% sure of the hygiene of that food. Because one gastrointestinal attack can set you back by a week at least. So make sure that you are very careful of what you're picking outside. Even at home, be extremely careful, be very careful with raw foods, but also with cooked foods. Refrigerate not a second later, as soon as possible. Do not leave food out. The second issue that happens during monsoon is that our gastrointestinal system, because of high humidity, that is our digestion, tends to get a little sluggish. So it's important to ensure that we eat food that is light on our stomach, easily digestible. So basically say no to very high, heavy, spicy, fried food. Eat food that your digestion can handle easily. So that's an important rule. Also give a little help. Eat probiotics. Eat foods that are easy to digest and help the gut microbiota. Foods like fermented foods. That's a big tip for monsoon season. Include one fermented food every day in your diet. Having taken care of that, also take care of your immunity because it is at a very low edge at this in this season. Very important to ensure that your diet has multiple antioxidants in them. Focus on vitamin A, focus on vitamin C, focus on vitamin E, focus on selenium. All of these are antioxidants which help boost our immunity. Foods like haldi, onions, garlic, methra, which is the methi seeds, and bitter gourd. These 5 are a must include during this season. Bitter gourd is my personal favorite because it is a food that can help detox your body, cleanse your blood, and keep infections away and your immunity at an all-time high. So try to eat as much bitter gourd as possible, even if you don't like it. Take my advice on that. Then, both bloating as well as dehydration are big issues. Yes, both during monsoons. So one, try and avoid too much of sour foods because they tend to increase the bloating in the body. And second, do not cut down on water. In fact, increase the amount of water that you drink every day. Because even more than summers, it's in the monsoons, during the rains, that your body has a chance to get dehydrated. Change your diet to monsoon-friendly foods and you will not have trouble. I will leave you with 2 more favorite foods of mine for monsoons. One is bhutta. I'm sure you must have guessed it, but there is science behind it. Corn is a perfect food to eat during this time because it's high fiber, has both insoluble and soluble fiber, which is great for our gut. So indulge in that bhutta, go ahead. Besan, as I've already mentioned, but instead of pakoras, maybe there are other forms to eat besan, which you can figure out, I'm sure. But raw mango is a food to really include during this season if you can get hold of it. It has pectin in it, which is a wonder compound for your body during the rains.
We hope you had your paper and pen ready. You were noting down all of the recommendations we've gotten through the show today. A little precaution goes a long way, remember, in this weather. Stay safe, stay dry.